Remember when you had those integrals in math class and you thought, why the hell do I need to learn what's inside of this S? Why would they even put an S in math? Well, what I wish I had known earlier was that there are much better ways to learn really hard topics. And now as a doctor, I've been learning hard stuff for a long time. I've been taking college level courses for over 12 years. Anyway, with some help from the academic journals and evidence and speaking to top performing students, over time I've learned the best ways to handle the hardest topics. We're gonna cheat, then read a magazine, then build a house and break it down, and then meet our friends Jimmy Neutron and Carl. Step number 1 is cheat. How did others learn it? Is there a cheat sheet? You shouldn't be discovering the theory of relativity for the first time. It was already done. For example, in medical school, many people made their own flashcards, but there's already a set of pre-made, amazing, completely exhaustive, and mutually exclusive flashcards. That means covering everything and not overlapping with one another. That covers all the information you need to know in med school. Another example is video resources and guides. Don't be the first person to try and read a textbook or a set of research articles and relay this into digestible information. Don't be the first person to try and learn what that S means for integrals. There's amazing Khan Academy videos that do it in 10 minutes. Cheat by taking advantage of previous students' hard work to streamline the information right into yo noggin. What resources do top performers use? In what order? For how long? Oh, this is The Economist, not Mad Magazine. Definitely not Mad Magazine. Who would be 29 years old and reading Mad Magazine? Anyway, step number 2 is to magazine it. Look at the title, the pretty pictures, the bolded words. Scroll through everything. We want to build our interest in the topic and not get bogged down with the information. We want to look at the pretty pictures, the bolded words, go through the entire subject chapter. We want to get a general layout of what's going on. What is the title of this lecture? The chapter titles. What do the pictures mean? What are they referencing? What are some questions that I might be asked based off this material? For any day of learning, magazining the information shouldn't take longer than 20 minutes. We're just trying to look at the stuff that piques our interest, that interests us, so we get a little bit of interest in the topic. And then we also want to get an outline of everything we might learn today. This will guide our learning when we want to build the house. Don't lie about your knowledge. We're building a house here. Understand what you don't understand and what you do understand. Because as you build your knowledge on top of this basic foundational material, it's going to get more difficult and more difficult and more difficult. And if you build a shaky foundation, it'll just tumble like a house of cards. And Kevin Spacey knows exactly what I'm talking about.
It's me.
Anyway, let's use an example of the heart. Before we even begin to think about like cardiac output or cardiac myocytes, we need to start to think about what's the point of the heart and how does it basically function? What's a ventricle? What's an atrium? What are the valves that connect these two? Why does blood go to the lungs and then go to the body? Without understanding the basic material there, we're definitely not going to be understand myocytes or cardiac output, and we're not going to be able to figure out why that information is important. So step number 1 is to understand all the bolded words. What is the definition of a myocyte? What is the definition of an atrium? The next thing what I want you to do is create a one-liner for the heart or for whatever piece of information you're going to learn. For example, you want to come up with a one-liner for the heart. So the heart's function is to deliver oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. And it does this by receiving deoxygenated blood into the right atrium, which then goes to the right ventricle, which squeezes into the lungs to oxygenate the blood. That oxygenated blood then returns to the left atrium before going through the mitral valve into the left ventricle to squirt oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. Now, maybe even that's a little bit too complicated, so just step it down even one step smaller and say, what's the point of the heart? To deliver oxygenated blood to the body. Step number 4 is now that we've built our house, let's break it down. Split this very difficult topic into its core components. And this is where the hard work comes in. This is where the hours of studying, the lectures, the using the other material, the asking tutors for help comes in. Everything we just did in steps 1 through 3 shouldn't take more than 30 minutes, an hour absolute maximum. And if you want to be a pro, what I would do is do these steps 1 to 3 before you're going to learn the material in a class or a lecture or something like that. Sleep on that information. go to the lecture, and then do the next steps 4 to 6 after the lecture. Because our brains have this magical ability to consolidate memories and create new answers to problems while we sleep. Okay, so now we're on step number 4. What are we doing? How are we breaking down the house? Well, I would break things into their core components and don't make it more than 3 to 5 core components. For example, if I was trying to learn about the heart physiology, I'd probably want to think, okay, what is the anatomy of the heart? Where is the right atrium? Where is the tricuspid valve? Where is the mitral valve? How are these all related? I would then want to understand the math of the heart. Why is cardiac output important? What is the Starling curve? How do these all interact to make the heart function properly? And finally, I'd want to narrow it down to the cell biology. What is a cardiac myocyte? How does it generate energy? How does it squeeze in an organized fashion to make sure blood isn't going all different which ways directions? So instead of breaking it down into a million different subjects, instead I'm going to break it into gross anatomy, important math, and cell biology. And next, we're going to take cues from Jimmy Neutron and Brain Blast.
Brain Blast! Of course!
I will never perfectly understand a topic, I guarantee that. Einstein didn't have a perfect understanding of physics, yet he came to the theory of relativity by creating multiple different theories until one seemed to fit. Mozart had uninterested and flawed pieces, but he created some of the most moving music known to man. Thomas Edison supposedly failed over 1,000 times before he made a functional light bulb. These people don't have perfect understandings of physics or music, and I don't think anyone does. The point I'm saying with these notable inventors, scientists, and composers is they didn't know everything before they tried to answer a problem. They tried multiple experiments or multiple problems or multiple creations, and while doing this, they learned to finally come to their groundbreaking solutions. Here are some facts. Students who do practice problems without seeing the answers perform better on tests than students who look at practice problems and answer combinations. Practice testing and flashcards are the most effective ways you can study. Simply put, it's the highest yield study technique there is for time put in. So what you need to do is start doing practice problems as soon as possible. This should take up the most time. This is where you'll get the highest reward from your effort put in. Now, because you could be studying a million different things, I'm just gonna give you a few places where you could find practice problems. You could find them in the back of your textbook. You could ask your teacher for some practice problems. You could create your own practice questions, or you can find some questions on the internet. And I have a guide, a separate video that I'll link somewhere up here on how to best use practice questions. Now that you've learned it all, consolidate that information, keep it inside, and help someone else. Use the Feynman technique. In medicine, we have a phrase: see one, do one, teach one. Now, should we necessarily be teaching someone how to do something that we've only done once that's on another human? Well, maybe not alone, right? But here's the thing. When we're teaching one, a supervising doctor is always there. A supervisor is always there to make sure everything we're doing is safe. However, when you teach something, you're solidifying the information and learning more as you teach. This is why it's such a valuable thing for that newly minted person who's just placed a central line or has just placed an NG tube to teach someone else how to do it, because it solidifies that information and it actually helps you learn more. Evidence shows simply teaching about a topic can dramatically improve our performance on exams. And the mistake I see most frequently with the Feynman technique is you wait too long or you make it too complicated, or you try to get really nitty-gritty with the details. The person you're teaching it to really doesn't know much what's going on, so make it make sense in your own words. You should maybe need a bullet point here and there. You can practice a little bit, but it should be teaching it so you understand it. Overall, learning hard stuff is hard. However, with a well thought out strategy and enough time dedicated to this challenging problem, you can figure it out. You really can learn anything in the entire world. And when you figure this out, it's life-changing. Nothing is too complex. No topic is too hard. Nothing will stop you. You're just gonna break it down step by step. You're just gonna magazine it. You're just gonna brain blast it. So in summary, I would spend 30 minutes to an hour doing steps 1 through 3, and then the rest of your time dedicated to steps 4 through 6, with the highest yield strategy being practice problems or working with the information. And there's a magical place where I not only learned these studying techniques, but I also learned how to start my YouTube channel and start a business, and honestly, change my life. When starting my YouTube channel, I greatly benefited from the learning path combo of growing your first YouTube channel and how to edit videos with Final Cut Pro. I also love the graphic design course with Daniel Scott and Thomas Frank's business course. And this is just the beginning. There are photography, music, cooking, and marketing courses that are great. And some of my favorite things I've ever watched come from Skillshare. And of course, if you want to watch the best course there is on Skillshare and you want to start getting straight A's using flashcards, you can check out my course on how to use flashcards to get straight A's on Skillshare completely free. However, whatever you want to learn, whatever your dreams are, I'm sure you can find a course on it on Skillshare. The first 500 people to use the link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. So click on my link and start changing your life today. Probably with that Anki course, it's the best one. Good luck, and remember, never get between Carl and a croissant. I'll see you on the next one.
Yes. Are you going to finish that croissant?
Knock yourself out.